Most people live their entire lives believing that achievement is a matter of time, effort, and circumstance. They believe they must toil for years, struggle against impossible odds, and hope that someday, if they are fortunate enough, their dreams might materialize. But I tell you tonight that this is the greatest deception ever perpetrated upon the human mind. The truth, the glorious, liberating truth is that every desire of your heart already exists in its completed form, waiting only for your recognition. In this 1 minute that I speak of, you will not be creating anything new. You will simply be claiming what is already yours by divine right. The wealth you seek, the love you crave, the success you dream of, the perfect health you desire, all of these exist now, in this very moment, in what I call the world of imagination. And imagination, my friends, is not some fanciful playground of the mind. Imagination is the very workshop of God, the divine faculty through which all creation comes into being. When I speak of 1 minute, I am not speaking of time as you commonly understand it. I am speaking of a state of consciousness, a moment of absolute conviction so powerful that it transcends the limitations of your physical senses and connects you directly to the source of all creation. In this sacred minute, you will learn to feel yourself into the wish fulfilled, to experience with every fiber of your being the reality of having already received what you desire. The power I am revealing to you tonight has been known to mystics and sages throughout the ages, but it has been hidden from the masses by layers of complexity and religious dogma. Tonight I strip away all pretense and give you the simple, practical truth. You are not a helpless victim of circumstances. You are not at the mercy of external forces. You are the operant power of your own life, the creator of your own reality, the architect of your own destiny. Listen carefully to what I am about to tell you, for these words carry within them the power to transform your entire existence. Everything you see in your physical world, every building, every invention, every work of art, every relationship first existed in someone's imagination. The chair you sit upon, the clothes you wear, the very building that shelters us tonight. All of these were once merely imagined by someone who dared to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. But here is where most people fail. They imagine their desires, they picture their goals, but they do so from a state of wanting, from a state of lack. They look at their present circumstances and say, someday I will have what I want. This is precisely backwards. To manifest your desires, you must from the end, from the state of already having what you seek. You must feel yourself to be the person who has already achieved your goal. In your 1 minute of power, you will close your eyes and transport yourself mentally to the scene that would naturally follow the fulfillment of your desire. If you seek wealth, do not imagine yourself working to become wealthy. Instead, imagine yourself already wealthy, doing the things people do, feeling the security and freedom that wealth provides. If you seek love, do not imagine yourself searching for love. Instead, imagine yourself already loved, surrounded by the warmth and companionship of your perfect partner. The secret lies not in the vividness of your imagination, though that helps, but in the feeling of naturalness, the sense of isn't it wonderful that accompanies your imaginal act. When you can imagine your desire fulfilled and feel it to be the most natural thing in the world, when you can say to yourself with complete conviction, of course this is how it is, then you have planted the seed that must, by divine law, produce the harvest of your fulfilled desire. This is not positive thinking. This is not wishful thinking. This is the deliberate use of your divine power of imagination to impress upon your subconscious mind, which is God in action, the reality of your fulfilled desire. Your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between what you imagine to be true and what you perceive through your physical senses. Whatever you imagine with feeling and accept as true, your subconscious mind will manifest in your external world. The 1 minute I speak of is not limited to 60 seconds on a clock. It is the moment when you achieve that perfect state of consciousness in which you feel your desire to be already fulfilled. For some, this may happen in seconds. For others, it may take longer to achieve this state of conviction. But once you have truly felt yourself to be the person you desire to be, once you have experienced the reality of your wish fulfilled, the work is done. From that moment forward, everything in your life will begin to rearrange itself to confirm the new reality you have impressed upon your subconscious mind. You must understand that your imagination is not separate from you, it is you. When you imagine, you are not creating pictures in your mind. You are actually moving in consciousness to the reality of your fulfilled desire. In the dimension of imagination, your desire is already a fact. The physical manifestation is simply the delayed reflection of what you have already experienced in consciousness. This is why I tell you that in 1 minute, everything you have ever wanted will find you. Not because you will suddenly become lucky, not because circumstances will mysteriously align in your favor, but because you will have changed who you are at the deepest level of your being. You will have become the person who naturally attracts and receives all that you desire. The world will tell you that this is impossible, that such claims are too good to be true. The world will point to your current circumstances as evidence that you cannot have what you desire. But I tell you that your current circumstances are nothing more than the hardened facts of your past imagining. They have no power over your future, except the power you give them by continuing to accept them as unchangeable. Your friends and family may doubt you. They may tell you to be realistic, to accept your limitations, to stop dreaming impossible dreams. But you must remember that they are speaking from their own level of consciousness, their own accepted limitations. You cannot lift them to your level of understanding, but you must not allow them to pull you down to theirs. When you practice this art of imagining, you will discover that the hardest part is not the imagining itself, but the persistence required to maintain your new assumption in the face of contradictory evidence from your senses. Your eyes will show you lack, your bank account will show you limitation, your relationships will show you loneliness. But these are all shadows of your former state of consciousness. As you persist in your new assumption, these shadows will gradually give way to the light of your new reality. The beauty of this law is that it works whether you understand it or not, whether you believe in it or not. It is as constant and reliable as the law of gravity. Every moment of every day you are imagining something. Every feeling you entertain, every assumption you make about yourself and your world is creating your future experience. The only question is whether you will use this power consciously and deliberately, or whether you will continue to create by default, accepting whatever random thoughts and feelings happen to occupy your consciousness. I urge you to begin tonight, this very moment, to take control of your imagination. Choose one desire, not 10, not 5, but one that means more to you than anything else in the world. It might be financial security, perfect health, your ideal relationship, or professional success. Whatever it is, hold it clearly in your mind and then do something that most people never do. Dare to assume that it is already yours. In your 1 minute of power, construct a scene that implies the fulfillment of your desire. Make it simple. Make it natural. Make it something that would actually happen if your desire were already realized. If you desire wealth, imagine yourself writing a check for a large amount with ease and confidence. If you desire love, imagine someone important to you congratulating you on your wonderful relationship. If you desire health, imagine your doctor telling you that you are in perfect condition. The scene itself is not important. What matters is the feeling of reality you bring to it. The sense that this is not imagination but memory, not future, but present fact. When you can experience your imaginal scene with the same sense of reality that you experience your physical world, when you can feel the emotions you would naturally feel if your desire were already fulfilled, then you have successfully planted the seed of your new reality. But planting the seed is only the beginning. A farmer does not plant corn and then dig it up every day to see if it is growing. He plants it and then confidently goes about his business, knowing that the laws of nature will produce the harvest in due season. You must do the same with your desires. Once you have felt yourself to be the person who has already achieved your goal, you must then live in confidence, knowing that the harvest is assured. This does not mean you sit idly by waiting for miracles. It means you go about your daily life with a new sense of expectancy, a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are no longer the person you used to be. You are now the person who has what you formerly desired. You carry yourself differently, you make decisions differently. You respond to opportunities differently, because you are different. And here is the miracle. As you persist in this new assumption about yourself, as you continue to feel yourself to be the person who has already achieved your desire, the physical world will begin to reshape itself to match your inner conviction. Opportunities will appear, circumstances will shift, people will behave differently toward you, all because you have changed who you are at the level of consciousness. The skeptics will say this is coincidence. They will find 1,000 rational explanations for the changes in your life. But you will know the truth. You will know that you are witnessing the power of consciousness to create reality, the power of imagination to bring the invisible into visibility, the power of assumption to harden into fact. Some of you listening tonight will dismiss these words as too simple, too good to be true. You will continue to struggle and strive, to worry and fear, to hope and wait. But some of you will hear the truth in what I say. Some of you will dare to test these principles for yourself. And for those brave souls, life will never be the same again. The power I am revealing to you is not new. It is as old as consciousness itself. Every great teacher, every spiritual master, every successful person throughout history has used this power, whether consciously or unconsciously. The only difference is that tonight I am giving it to you plainly and simply, without mystical language or complex rituals. You do not need to be special to use this power. You do not need to be spiritual or religious or intellectual. You need only to be human, for this power is your birthright as a conscious being. Every child uses power naturally until the world teaches them that imagination is not real, that dreams are only dreams, that practical people do not expect miracles. But tonight you have the opportunity to reclaim your divine inheritance. Tonight you can remember who you really are, not a limited physical being at the mercy of external forces, but an unlimited spiritual being with the power to create your own reality through the conscious use of your imagination. The 1 minute of power that I speak of is available to you right now. You do not need to wait for the perfect time or the perfect circumstances. You do not need to prepare yourself with years of study or spiritual practice. You need only to close your eyes, imagine your desire fulfilled, and feel the reality of that fulfillment with every fiber of your being. When you open your eyes, you will still be in the same physical location, surrounded by the same circumstances, but you will be a different person. You will be the person who has what you formerly desired. And from that moment forward, everything in your life will begin to arrange itself to confirm the new reality you have accepted. The greatest enemy you will face is not external opposition, but internal doubt. Your rational mind will tell you that nothing has changed, that you are still the same person with the same limitations. Your senses will continue to show you the old reality for a while because the physical world takes time to catch up to changes in conscious life. But you must not be moved by appearances. You must hold fast to your new assumption, knowing that persistence is the key that unlocks every door. Remember, you are not trying to force something to happen. You are not battling against the universe or struggling to overcome obstacles. You are simply claiming what is already yours by divine right, accepting the fulfillment of your desire that already exists in the realm of imagination. The universe wants to give you what you desire even more than you want to receive it, because the universe is seeking to express itself through you. Every great invention, every work of art, every breakthrough in science or medicine, every act of love and compassion is the universe expressing itself through human consciousness. When you dare to imagine your desires fulfilled, you are not being selfish or unrealistic. You are participating in the divine creative process, allowing the infinite to express itself through your particular form. This is why I tell you that in 1 minute, everything you have ever wanted will find you. Not because you will become lucky, but because you will have aligned yourself with the creative power of the universe. Not because you will have figured out how to manipulate circumstances, but because you will have changed who you are at the most fundamental level. The how of your desires' fulfillment is not your concern. Your only job is to define what you feel yourself to be the person who already has it. The infinite intelligence that created the stars and the planets, that causes your heart to beat and your lungs to breathe, knows exactly how to bring your desire into manifestation. Trust that intelligence. Cooperate with it by maintaining your assumption, but do not try to dictate the means by which your desire will be fulfilled. Often your desire will come to you in ways you never could have imagined. The love you seek may arrive through an unexpected introduction. The wealth you desire may come through an opportunity you never considered. The health you want may manifest through a treatment you had never heard. Keep your mind open to all possibilities, but keep your assumption fixed on the end result. As you begin to apply these principles, you will discover that the most difficult part is not the imagining, but the dropping of old beliefs and patterns of thought that no longer serve you. You have spent years, perhaps decades, identifying yourself with limitation, accepting lack as normal, expecting struggle as inevitable. These old beliefs do not die easily. They will reassert themselves again and again, trying to convince you that you are not the person you have imagined yourself to be. But every time you return to your vision, every time you feel yourself to be the person who has already achieved your desire, you weaken the hold of the old beliefs and strengthen the new reality. It is like changing the course of a great river. At first, the water continues to flow in the old channel out of habit and momentum. But as you persist in digging the new channel, more and more water begins to flow in the new direction, until eventually the old channel dries up completely. This is the work of transformation. It is not always easy, but it is always worth it. Every moment you spend feeling yourself to be the person you desire to be is a moment invested in your new reality. Every time you refuse to accept limitation as permanent, every time you choose assumption over appearance, you are participating in the most important work possible, the recreation of yourself and your world. The people around you may not understand what you are doing. They may not see any immediate changes in your circumstances. But you will know that the work is being done. You will feel the shift in your consciousness, the quiet confidence that comes from knowing who you really are. You will begin to move through the world differently, to make decisions from a new perspective, to respond to challenges with a new strength. And then, gradually at first, but with increasing frequency, the external world will begin to match your internal reality. Small synchronicities will occur. Opportunities will present themselves. People will treat you differently. What others call coincidence or luck, you will recognize as the natural outworking of consciousness, the inevitable result of your changed assumptions about yourself. The most beautiful aspect of this law is that it works regardless of your past, regardless of your current circumstances, regardless of what others think is possible for you. You could be starting from the lowest point imaginable, surrounded by failure and disappointment, and still, in 1 minute, change the entire trajectory of your life by changing who you are in consciousness. I have seen this happen countless times. I have watched people transform their lives completely by learning to feel themselves into their desired state. Poor people becoming wealthy, sick people becoming healthy, lonely people finding love, failures becoming successes, all because they dared to assume that they were already the person they desired to be. The power that accomplishes these seeming miracles is not mine. It is not special to me or to any teacher or guru. It is your power, the divine creative force that flows through every human being. The only difference between those who manifest their desires and those who do not is the conscious and deliberate use of this power. Tonight, you have received the key that unlocks the door to your heart's desire. That key is the understanding that you are not trying to get something you do not have, but rather you are claiming what is already yours in the realm of imagination. You are not trying to become someone you are not, but rather you are recognizing who you have always been beneath the layers of false beliefs and accepted limitations. Your 1 minute of power is not a moment in time, but a state of consciousness, a level of conviction so deep and so complete that it becomes your new reality. In this minute, you will not be pretending or visualizing or hoping. You will be experiencing the actual sensation of being the person who has already achieved your desire. When this minute comes, and it will come, if you persist, you will know it with absolute certainty. You will feel a shift in your entire being, a quiet satisfaction that comes not from getting something you wanted, but from recognizing something you already are. You will no longer feel like someone who is trying to manifest a desire. You will feel like someone whose desire has already been fulfilled. From that moment forward, everything will be different. Not because your external circumstances will immediately change, though they will, but because you will be different. You will carry yourself with a new confidence, speak with a new authority, make decisions from a new perspective. You will be the person you have always known you could be, but never quite believed you were. And as you persist in this new identity, as you refuse to go back to your old assumptions about yourself, the world around you will have no choice but to conform to your new reality. The laws of consciousness are as reliable as the laws of physics. Just as surely as water flows downhill and fire burns upward, consciousness creates reality. When you change your consciousness, your reality must change. This is the promise I make to you tonight. Not that you will receive what you want, but that you will become who you are. Not that you will get your desires, but that you will recognize that your desires have always been yours, waiting only for your acceptance. Not that miracles will happen to you, but that you will remember that you are the miracle, the very power by which all things are made. Go now into your 1 minute of power. Close your eyes and feel yourself to be everything you have ever dreamed of being. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now. Feel the reality of it, the naturalness of it, the inevitable certainty of it. Feel yourself to be the person who has everything you have ever wanted. And when you open your eyes, though nothing may seem different on the surface, everything will be different but as most. In consciousness where all creation begins. Your 1 minute is now. Your power is now. Your new life begins now. Take it, claim it, live it. For you are not merely human beings having a spiritual experience. You are spiritual beings having a human experience. And you have the power to make that experience exactly what you choose it to be. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. These words from Scripture reveal the greatest secret ever told. For your consciousness, your awareness, your assumption is the only reality. The world that appears outside of you is nothing more than the outpicturing of your essence made visible. What you are experiencing now, at this very moment, is simply the harvest of seeds previously planted in the fertile soil of your imagination. Tonight, I shall reveal to you the divine art of assumption, the method by which you may act, as if you already possess that which you desire, and through this assumption, command the invisible forces of creation to reshape your world according to your will. The law of assumption. The first and most fundamental truth I wish to impress upon you is this. Assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. Let me repeat that eternal principle. Assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. What does this mean? It means that when you assume you are what you want to be, and continue in that assumption, you will become it in this physical world. When you assume you have what you desire, and persist in that feeling, it must externalize itself in your experience. This is not magic, not some mystical phenomenon separate from the natural laws of the universe. This is the very process of creation itself, the same process by which all that exists came into being. In the beginning was the Word. The Word, consciousness, imagination, assumption precedes all manifestation. Your physical senses tell you what is, but your imagination tells you what can be. And in the realm of creation, what can be imagined as real becomes real in your world. The secret of imagining, I tell you, is the greatest of all problems, to the solution of which the mystic aspires. When you grasp that your consciousness is the one and only reality, you will know that the world you experience is determined by the concept you hold of yourself. Change your concept of self, and you change your world. The creative power of your assumption. Let me illustrate this principle with a simple truth. There is no difference between imagining and what you call reality, except in degree of vividness. The world you perceive is not caused by what exists external to you. Rather, what appears external to you is caused by your state of consciousness. The world, as Neville has often told you, is a mirror wherein everyone sees himself reflected. The conditions and activities of your life are the direct reproduction of your inner states. Nothing appears by chance. Your assumption, your feeling, your dominant state externalizes itself. As within, so without. Consider the words found in Scripture. What things soever ye desire, when ye pray, believe that ye have received them, and ye shall have them. This is not a promise of some future attainment. It is the revelation of an immediate possession. Believe that you receive them now in the present moment. This is the secret of acting as if. You must assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, not tomorrow, not next week, not when circumstances appear favorable, but now. In the absence of physical evidence, in the face of contradictory appearances, you must dare to assume the feeling of already being, already having that which you seek to manifest. For the feeling is the secret, the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Your feeling is your faith, and according to your faith is it done unto you. The assumption of the wish fulfilled. The technique is simple, though its implications are profound. You must first clarify in your mind exactly what you would feel if you were already the person you wish to be, if you already possess that which you desire to possess. Then, having identified this feeling, you must enter into it completely. You must saturate your consciousness with it. You must think from the end, not of the end. This distinction is crucial. To think from the end is to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It is to experience now what you would experience then. Let me share with you a technique that has proven most effective. Each night as you lie in your bed, just before sleep claims you, assume that you are already that which you wish to be. Feel the naturalness of it. Feel the reality of it. Feel the solidity of it. Then fall asleep in this state. In sleep, man is shut out from the world of the senses. In sleep, his conscious, reasoning mind is no longer active. In this state, your assumption will sink deep into the subconscious, where all changes must first occur before they can manifest in your outer world. What thou seest that thou be, as you fall asleep feeling yourself to be a particular person, you will awaken being that person. While men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat. Sleep in the assumption of your wish fulfilled and allow no negative thoughts, no tares to be sown in the fertile field of your subconscious mind. The law of reversibility. There exists in nature what I call the law of reversibility. This law states that by consciously assuming the feeling of that which you wish to be or to have, and persisting in that assumption, you will experience in the outer world the conditions implied in that assumption. If I desire wealth, I must assume the feeling of wealth. If I desire health, I must assume the feeling of health. If I desire love, I must assume the feeling of being loved. Whatever state I assume and continue to occupy, that state I will objectify in my world. This law of reversibility is demonstrated throughout Scripture, though few have eyes to see it. Go thy way, thy son liveth. The father believed the words that Jesus spoke to him. He assumed health for his son, though his son was miles away and critically ill. And when he returned home, he found his son had been healed at the exact hour that Jesus had spoken to him. This is the law of reversibility in action. The feeling with faith objectifies itself. That is the law. What you feel, you attract. What you imagine with faith becomes your reality. The distinction between wishing and assuming. Mark well the distinction between wishing and assuming. To wish for something is to acknowledge that you do not possess it. It affirms lack, separation, and absence. To assume, however, is to appropriate the consciousness of already having that which you desire. It affirms possession, unity, and presence. Many pray to an external deity, begging for intervention, imploring for mercy or favor. But I tell you, the kingdom of God is within you. The creative power, the only God there is, exists within your own consciousness. Prayer is not begging. Prayer is not supplication. True prayer is assumption, the feeling of already being or having that which you desire. It is thanksgiving before the evidence of physical senses. It is faith, the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. When you pray, do not say, God, please give me this or that. Rather feel, thank you, other, that I now have this or that. Feel the gratitude that would be yours if your desire were already fulfilled. This is the true meaning of, before they call, I will answer. The redemptive function of imagination. Imagination is not a state, it is the very existence of man. The eternal body of man is the imagination that is God himself. Your imagination is the very gateway to infinity, the portal through which the unmanifest becomes manifest. When you consciously direct your imagination, you are exercising the divine prerogative of creation. The world and all within it are phenomena of the imagination. Nothing exists outside of awareness. All that appears to you as reality first had to be conceived in someone's imagination. Your imagination is redemptive. Through it, you can be born anew, not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the wish, but of God, of the creative consciousness that is your true identity. When you imagine yourself as the person you wish to be, and persist in that imagination until it feels natural to you, you are literally bringing about the rebirth of yourself. You are putting off the old man and putting on the new. This is not metaphor. This is the actual process of transformation, the natural use of the law. Now, let me address a concern that often arises when this law is first understood. Some fear that if imagination creates reality, then mankind might use this power for destructive purposes. But let me assure you, the law itself neutralizes all negative uses of the creative power. For to sustain an assumption, you must feel it to be natural. And no man can feel natural in a state that violates his innate sense of justice. You may temporarily enter into an unlovely assumption, but you cannot abide there. The tension between such an assumption and your divine nature will eventually force you to abandon it. The law itself ensures that in the end, only the good, the beautiful, and the true can endure. For only these states can be felt as natural to man, who in his essence is the image and likeness of God. When you use the law naturally, you use it lovingly. You do not seek to take from another or to harm another. You simply assume the consciousness of already being what you want to be, of already having what you want to have. And in that assumption, you discover that there is enough for all, that creation is infinite, that limitation exists only in the minds of those who believe in limitation. The sevenfold nature of man. Man is a sevenfold being. He has within him 7 states of consciousness, 7 levels of awareness. Most live their entire lives utilizing only the lowest 3, corresponding to the physical body, the vital energies, and the lower emotions. But the law of assumption calls upon you to activate the higher states, the heart center of divine love, the throat center of divine expression, the brow center of divine vision, and the crown center of a divine unity. As you ascend in consciousness through the power of assumption, these dormant centers awaken, bringing with them new faculties, new perceptions, and new powers. Be ye perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect. This command is not impossible of fulfillment. It is simply calling you to awaken to your true nature, to assume the feeling of being perfect, whole, complete, as God is. And as you persist in this assumption, the evidence of your transformation will appear in your world. The pruning shears of revision. If you have made mistakes in the past, if your life up to this point has not reflected the glory that you are capable of manifesting, do not despair, for you have at your disposal what I call the pruning shears of revision. Each night, before you sleep, review the events of your day, where you have fallen short. Revise the scene in your imagination. See it not as it occurred, but as you would have liked it to occur. Feel the naturalness of this revised version. Then, fall asleep in this revised state. The vision of Christ that thou dost see is my vision's greatest enemy. Do not accept the evidence of your senses as final. Do not bow before the dictates of memory. You have the power to revise the past in your imagination. And as you do, you rewrite the script of your life. What you revise in imagination with feeling, you experience in reality. This is not fantasy or escapism. This is the creative use of the one power that shapes all manifestation, your consciousness. The pearl of great price. The knowledge I share with you tonight is the pearl of great price, the treasure hidden in a field. It is worth selling all that you have, all your limiting beliefs, all your negative assumptions, all your fears and doubts, to possess it. For when you truly grasp the power of assumption, when you begin to consciously apply it in your life, you will discover that you are the author of your destiny, the creator of your universe. You will know with absolute certainty that the world you experience is simply your consciousness pushed out. I am the resurrection and the life. These words, attributed to Jesus, reveal the true identity of every man and woman. For the I am in you, your own wonderful human imagination, is the resurrection and the life. It can resurrect you from the grave of limitation and breathe new life into your circumstances. When you say, I am wealthy, I am healthy, I am loved, you are literally reshaping your reality according to these assumptions. For I am is God's name, the creative power of the universe. And whatever you attach to I am, you bind to your experience. The Sabbath of life. There comes a point in the application of the law where effort ceases. This is the Sabbath, the day of rest. When your assumption feels completely natural to you, when you no longer have to remind yourself to think from the end, when your new state has been fully accepted by your subconscious mind, then you have entered the Sabbath. In this state, manifestation occurs effortlessly. You do not make it happen. You allow it to happen. Having planted the seed of assumption in the fertile soil of your subconscious, you now watch it grow of its own accord. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who casts seed upon the ground and would sleep and rise night and day, and the seed would sprout and grow, he knows not how. This is the perfect description of the process. You cast the seed, your assumption. Then you sleep, you rest in the certainty that the seed will grow. And it does grow through a process that appears mysterious to the rational mind, but is perfectly natural to the acclimation imagination. The intervention of faith. Faith is essential to the successful application of the law of assumption. But faith is not something you acquire. It is something you acquire. Faith is simply the consciousness of already being or having what you desire. It is assumption sustained. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Your faith, your sustained assumption, is the actual substance of that which you desire. It is the evidence perceivable by your spiritual senses, though not yet by your physical senses, that your desire is already fulfilled. Many fail in the application of the law because they constantly check for external evidence. They plant the seed of assumption one moment, then dig it up the next to see if it has grown. This vacillation prevents the seed from taking root. Have faith in the unseen reality of your assumption. Know that the invisible always precedes the visible, that the ideal always precedes the actual, that the spiritual always precedes the material. Trust the process implicitly, and in divine timing, at an hour you think not, your assumption will harden into fact. The art of detachment. While persistence in your assumption is necessary, attachment to specific outcomes can hinder manifestation. This seems paradoxical, but it is a profound truth. You must assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, but then detach from how it will manifest. Detachment does not mean indifference. It means trusting in the perfect outworking of the law. It means surrendering the how to the infinite intelligence that orchestrates the universe. Your responsibility is the what, the assumption. The how belongs to God. My ways are not your ways. Neither are my thoughts your thoughts. The bridge of incidents that leads from your present state to your desired state may not follow the path you would consciously choose, but it will be the perfect path specifically designed for you by the wisdom of your own deeper self. Practice detachment by focusing solely on the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not on the process by which it will come about. Trust that once you have assumed the consciousness of already being, or having what you desire, the way will open before you. The cosmic response to an assumption. What happens when you successfully assume a new state of consciousness? The entire universe rearranges itself to accommodate your new concept of self. This is not hyperbole. It is the literal truth. All things work together for good to them that love God. When you love God, when you align yourself with the creative principle through assumption, all things in your universe conspire to externalize that assumption. People, circumstances, events, the entire fabric of your reality shifts to reflect your new state. This occurs because in truth, there is no out there separate from your consciousness. The world you perceive is your consciousness projected. Change your consciousness, and you change your world, not metaphorically, but actually. Many have experienced this phenomenon. They assumed a new state, perhaps of wealth, health, or love, and suddenly people began treating them differently. Opportunities appeared that had not been there before. Circumstances arranged themselves in ways that facilitated the manifestation of their desire. This is the cosmic response to Pianshan, the living proof in experience. I do not ask you to believe what I tell you tonight simply because I say it is so. I ask you to test it in the laboratory of your own life. For truth is not truth until it is proven in experience. Take a situation in your life that you wish to change. Perhaps it is financial lack, physical illness, or a troubled relationship. Now, clearly define what you would experience if this condition were transformed according to your desire. How would you feel? What would you see? What would you hear? What would you touch and taste? Having clearly defined this state, enter into it fully in your imagination. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. See from this state, not looking at it as something distant or separate from you. Experience it as a present reality. Then go about your daily life, but maintain this assumption. Think and act from this new state. When doubts arise, as they inevitably will, gently return to your assumption. Persist until it feels natural, until it feels more real to you than the evidence of your senses. Then observe what happens in your world. Notice how people respond to you differently. Notice how circumstances begin to change. Notice how coincidences occur that move you toward the fulfillment of your desire. This will be your living proof of the power of assumption. The divine nature of man. Why does the law of assumption work? Because man in his true essence is divine. Know ye not that ye are gods? This statement from Scripture is not blasphemy. It is the revelation of man's true identity. Your consciousness is God in action. Your I am is the same I am that spoke to Moses from the burning bush. I am that I am. This is the foundation of all creation, the eternal, unchanging reality behind all manifestation. When you say I am, you are invoking the creative power of the universe. And whatever you attach to that divine name becomes your experience. I am is the door through which your assumptions pass into expression. This is why assumption is so powerful. When you assume I am wealthy, I am healthy, I am loved, you are not merely engaging in positive thinking. You are actually appropriating the creative power that shapes worlds. You are exercising your divine prerogative as a son or daughter of God. The one consciousness. There is only one consciousness in the universe. This consciousness individualizes itself as the human imagination, but its essence remains undivided. I and my Father are one. Your consciousness and God's consciousness are one consciousness. This truth has profound implications for the law of assumption. It means that when you assume a state, you are not somehow manipulating external forces. You are aligning yourself with the one power that creates and sustains all things. Moreover, it means that what you assume for yourself affects the whole. No man is an island. Your consciousness is connected to all consciousness. When you elevate your own consciousness through assumption, you contribute to the elevation of all consciousness. This is why the practice of assumption is not selfish or self-centered, even when focused on personal desires. For as you transform yourself through assumption, you transform your world, and your world is part of the world of all beings. The end of manifestation. What is the ultimate purpose of the law of assumption? Is it merely to acquire material possessions, physical health, or harmonious relationships? These are worthy desires, and the law will bring them to you if you apply it correctly. But there is a higher purpose. The ultimate end of the law of assumption is the full realization of your divine nature. It is the complete awakening to who and what you really are. It is the resurrection from the grave of material consciousness into the light of spiritual consciousness. As you practice the law, you will discover that your desires change. That which once seemed so important may lose its appeal. You will find yourself naturally assuming states of higher consciousness, states of love, compassion, wisdom, and service. This transformation occurs because as you prove the law in experience, you come to know yourself as the operant power in your universe. And with this knowledge comes the responsibility to use your creative consciousness for the highest good of all. The promise fulfilled. Scripture tells us, behold, I make all things new. This is the promise of the law of assumption. Through the conscious direction of your imagination, you can make all things new in your life. The past does not determine the future, except to the extent that you continue to assume the same states that created your past. Change your assumption and you change your future. It is as simple and as profound as that. Let the weak say, I am strong. This is not positive thinking. It is the revelation of a principle. When the weak man says, I am strong, and persists in that assumption until it feels natural, he will become strong. The assumption precedes and determines the fact. Your life is the harvesting of assumptions previously planted. If you do not like what you are harvesting, plant new assumptions. Act as if you are already what you want to be, already have what you want to have. Feel the naturalness of it, the reality of it. And in the appointed hour, your assumption will blossom into fact. The pattern on the mount. In Scripture, we find the instruction, see that thou make all things according to the pattern showed to thee in the mount. The mount is the highest point of consciousness, the state of full awareness of your creative power. From this elevation, you are shown the pattern, the ideal state that you desire to manifest. This pattern is not something external to you. It is within your own consciousness. It is your conception of yourself as you would like to be. Make all things according to this pattern. Conform your thinking, your feeling, your actions to it. Let your entire being resonate with it. This is the essence of acting as if, seeing from the mountaintop and bringing that vision into expression in the valley of manifestation. Those who have climbed this mount and seen the pattern have returned to transform the world. They are the artists, the inventors, the discoverers, the reformers, the visionaries who first imagined what could be, then acted as if it already were, until their assumption hardened into fact. You are called to join their ranks. You are called to ascend the mount of revelation, to see the pattern of your ideal life, and to make all things according to that pattern through the power of assumption. The silent prayer. As we draw to the close of our discussion tonight, I would like to share with you what I call the silent prayer. This is not an appeal to an external deity, but a recognition of your true identity and creative power. I am that I am. I am the Lord, and there is no other. I am the resurrection and the life. I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the vine, and you are the branches. Repeat these statements slowly, feeling their truth, allowing them to sink deep into your consciousness. For these are not merely affirmations, they are the revelation of who you really are. When you say, I am that I am, you are acknowledging your oneness with the creative principle of the universe. You are accepting your divine heritage as a creator, as one who shapes reality through consciousness. This silent prayer, repeated with understanding and feeling, will gradually transform your entire being. It will awaken you to your true nature and purpose. It will reveal to you the limitless power that has been yours from the beginning. The final word. My beloved friends, the hour grows late, but the truth I have shared with you tonight is timeless. It has always been so, though hidden from those without eyes to see or ears to hear. You have been given the master key to life's mysteries, the law of assumption. With it, you can unlock any door, overcome any obstacle, fulfill any desire that springs from the depths of your being. Remember, assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. This is the creative law of the universe, the process by which all that exists came into being. Go forth from this place transformed by what you've heard. Apply the law consciously and consistently in your life. Act as if you are already the person you wish to be. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Live from the end, not toward it. And as you do, you will discover the truth of the words. All things whatsoever ye shall ask in prayer, believing ye shall receive. For prayer is assumption, belief is the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and received is the inevitable manifestation of that which you have assumed. The choice is yours, the power is yours, the kingdom is yours. For the kingdom of heaven is within you. It is your own wonderful human imagination, awakening your conscious direction. I leave you with this final thought. Man's chief delusion is his conviction that there are causes other than his own state of consciousness. Free yourself from this delusion, and you free yourself from all limitation. Act as if you already are what you wish to be, and that you shall be. This is the promise. This is the law. This is the truth that will set you free. The world is a mirror, forever reflecting what you are doing within yourself. As you assume, so shall your life become. This is the mystery and the wonder of existence. This is the art and science of conscious creation. This is the revelation of the ages, now delivered into your hands. Use it wisely. Use it lovingly. Use it now. And watch as the invisible becomes visible, as the ideal becomes actual, as the spiritual becomes material, as your assumption hardens into fact. For this is the divine art of manifestation, the sacred science of creation, the eternal process by which thought becomes thing and dreams become reality. And now, my friends, I release you to your divine destiny to act as if, to assume the best, to manifest your highest vision through the transformative power of assumption. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Go forth and be what you wish to be. Go forth and have what you wish to have. Go forth and experience what you wish to experience. For you are the resurrection and the life. You are the way, the truth, and the life. You are that which you are seeking. And in the conscious recognition of this eternal truth lies your freedom, your power, and your peace.
Let me ask you something that might shake your entire worldview. What if you've been approaching success completely backward? What if, instead of working to become victorious, you simply needed to assume the feeling of victory now? You see, most people live their entire lives waiting to feel victorious. They say, when I achieve this goal, then I'll feel like a winner. But I tell you this, you must feel like a winner first, and then the achievements will naturally follow. Consider this. Every great achievement in history began with someone who acted as though they had already won before any physical evidence existed. They carried themselves with the confidence of victory while others saw only defeat. Let me share something profound with you about the nature of victory. Victory isn't an event. It's a state of consciousness. When you truly grasp this, your entire world will transform. You see, most people are waiting for circumstances to make them feel victorious. But I tell you this, circumstances don't create your feelings create circumstances. Think about how you carry yourself when you know you've won something. There's a certain swagger in your step, a gleam in your eye, a confidence in your voice. This is the state you must adopt now, before any external evidence exists. Most of you sit here tonight thinking about your goals, your dreams, your aspirations. But I tell you this, as long as you see these things as future achievements, they will remain in the future. You must live from the end now. Consider what happens when you truly adopt the attitude of someone who has already won. Your entire world must reshape itself to match this new self-concept. This is law. Let me share with you what happens in consciousness when you assume the feeling of victory. Your entire being shifts. Your posture changes. Your voice carries new authority. Your decisions come from a place of confidence rather than fear. Let me tell you something profound about this victorious attitude. When you truly embody it, you're not pretending. You're claiming your natural state. Victory is not something foreign to you. It's your inherent nature. You see, most people approach life from a position of hoping to win. But I tell you this, hope is just another form of doubt. When you know you've already won, there's no need for hope because certainty has replaced it. Consider how differently you move through the world when you know the game is already won. You don't stress about small setbacks. You don't worry about temporary obstacles. You move with the calm confidence of someone who knows the final outcome. Let me share with you what happens when you maintain this victorious consciousness consistently. People begin responding to you differently. Opportunities seemingly appear out of nowhere. Doors that were closed suddenly open. Most of you have been taught to wait for victory to feel victorious. But I tell you this, that's exactly backward. You must feel victorious first, and then victory will manifest in your world. You see, this attitude of victory isn't about arrogance or ego. It's about aligning yourself with your true nature. When you act like you've already won, you're simply acknowledging what's already true in consciousness. Think about how you breathe when you're victorious. It's deep, it's confident, it's relaxed. This is how you should be breathing right now, regardless of current circumstances. Let me tell you about the transformation that occurs when you maintain this state. Your decisions change because you're no longer operating from a place of fear or lack. You make choices as someone who knows they cannot fail. Most of you sit here tonight thinking about past failures, current struggles, future uncertainties. But I tell you this, all these are irrelevant when you adopt the consciousness of victory. Consider this, every time you doubt, every time you worry, every time you fear, you're denying your victorious nature. You're choosing to act from a consciousness of defeat rather than victory. Let me share with you what happens in the depths of your being. When you truly embrace this victorious attitude, your entire nervous system begins to operate differently. Your body language changes automatically. Your voice carries a new resonance. You see, most people are waiting for something external to give them permission to feel victorious. But I tell you this, the only permission you need is your own decision to embody victory now. Consider what happens when you walk into a room knowing you've already won. Not hoping, not wishing, not planning to win, but knowing with absolute certainty that victory is already yours. The entire atmosphere changes. Let me tell you about the subtle shift that occurs in your relationships when you maintain this victorious consciousness. People begin treating you according to your own self-concept. They respond not to your words, but to the victory you radiate. Most of you have spent years rehearsing defeat in your mind, imagining worst-case scenarios, preparing for failure. But I tell you this, every time you do this, you're denying your victorious nature. You see, this attitude of victory transforms even the smallest actions of your day. When you know you've already won, even the way you sip your morning coffee changes. Everything becomes an expression of victory. Think about how you make decisions when you know you cannot fail. You move with boldness, with certainty, with absolute conviction. This is how you should be moving through every moment of your life. Let me share with you what happens when this victorious consciousness becomes your natural state. You stop asking, what if I fail? Because failure becomes impossible in your consciousness. You only see paths to victory. Most of you have been conditioned to believe that victory must be earned through struggle and hardship. But I tell you this, victory is your natural state. The struggle comes from resisting this truth. Consider how your entire world must reshape itself when you maintain this consciousness consistently. Everything that doesn't align with your victorious nature must fall away. When you truly embody victory, you're not just changing your mindset, you're altering the very fabric of your reality. You see, most people spend their lives preparing for victory, planning for victory, hoping for victory, but I tell you this, all of that preparation is useless if you don't assume the feeling of victory now. Consider what happens when you wake up each morning already feeling victorious. Your morning routine becomes a victory lap, not a preparation for battle. Your breakfast isn't fuel for the fight. It's a celebration of success. Let me tell you about the transformation that occurs in your work when you maintain this consciousness. Tasks that once seemed daunting become opportunities to express your victorious nature. Challenges become stages for your triumph. Most of you have been taught that confidence comes after achievement. But I tell you this, achievement comes after confidence. When you act like you've already won, success becomes inevitable. You see, this victorious attitude completely transforms how you handle setbacks. When you know you've already won, obstacles become merely temporary illusions, stepping stones to your already secured victory. Think about how differently you approach problems. When you know their solution is guaranteed, the stress dissolves. The anxiety vanishes. All that remains is the calm certainty of inevitable success. Let me share with you what happens when you maintain this state consistently. Your entire being begins to radiate victory. People feel it when you enter a room. Opportunities are naturally drawn to you. Most of you sit here tonight thinking about all the things you need to do to become victorious. But I tell you this, victory isn't something you become. It's something you express right now. Consider this. Every time you postpone feeling victorious until after some future achievement, you're pushing victory away. Victory must be claimed in the present moment. Let me share with you a deeper truth about this victorious attitude that will revolutionize your understanding. When you act like you've already won, you're not pretending. You're aligning with an existing reality in consciousness. You see, most people approach victory as something distant, something to be achieved through struggle and effort. But I tell you this, victory exists right now in your consciousness, waiting to be recognized and expressed. Consider what happens in your financial world when you maintain this victorious consciousness. Money ceases to be something you chase and becomes something naturally drawn to your victorious state. Success becomes your natural expression. Let me tell you about the transformation that occurs in your physical energy. When you embody this attitude, fatigue disappears because you're no longer fighting against life. You're flowing with your natural victorious state. Most of you have been taught that victory requires sacrifice, struggle, and pain. But I tell you this, those are just stories you've accepted. Victory is your natural state, requiring no struggle at all. You see, this victorious attitude completely transforms your relationship with time. When you know you've already won, you stop rushing. You move with the confident pace of someone who knows their triumph is secured. Think about how you breathe when you know you've already won. It's deep, relaxed, confident. This is your natural breath when you're aligned with victory. Adopt this breath now. Let me share with you what happens when this victorious consciousness becomes your default state. Your dreams no longer seem distant or impossible. They become natural expressions of your victorious nature. Most of you sit here tonight wanting to know the exact steps to victory. But I tell you this, there are no steps to what you already are. There's only recognition and expression. Consider this. Every time you doubt yourself, every time you feel uncertain, you're temporarily forgetting your victorious nature. These moments of doubt are simply opportunities to reclaim your true state. Let me reveal to you something profound about acting victorious that most will never grasp. When you embody victory in every moment, you're not just changing your behavior. You're awakening to your true identity. You see, most people treat victory like a distant destination, something to reach after long journeys of effort. But I tell you this, victory is your starting point, not your destination. You begin from victory, not journey toward it. Consider what happens in your mind when you truly grasp this truth. The endless chatter of doubt falls silent. The constant questioning of, am I good enough, disappears. All that remains is the quiet confidence of victory. Let me tell you about the shift that occurs in your physical presence when you maintain this consciousness. Your posture naturally straightens. Your movements become more graceful. Your entire being radiates an unmistakable authority. Most of you have spent years trying to overcome fear, doubt, and insecurity. But I tell you this, you don't overcome these things. You simply outgrow them by maintaining the consciousness of victory. You see, this victorious attitude transforms every interaction in your life. When you know you've already won, conversations change. Meetings change, relationships change. Everything must align with your victorious nature. Think about how you make decisions when you know success is guaranteed. There's no hesitation, no second guessing, no fear of consequences. This is your natural state of being. Let me share with you what happens when you maintain this state consistently. Your entire world begins to mirror your victorious consciousness. Opportunities that once seemed impossible become natural occurrences. Most of you live constantly preparing for future success, future victory, future achievement. But I tell you this, as long as you place victory in the future, that's where it will remain. Consider this, every moment you spend doubting your victory is a moment spent denying your true nature, your victory itself, expressing itself through your unique form. Let me share with you a truth so profound it will transform your entire approach to life. When you act victorious, you're not just putting on a show. You're tuning into the frequency of your natural state. You see, most people spend their lives reacting to circumstances, letting external events determine their inner state. But I tell you this, when you maintain the consciousness of victory, circumstances must conform to your inner state. Consider what happens to your creative abilities when you operate from this victorious consciousness. Ideas flow effortlessly. Solutions appear spontaneously. Innovation becomes your natural expression. Let me tell you about the transformation that occurs in your sleep when you maintain this victorious state. Your rest becomes deeper, more rejuvenating, because you're no longer battling with doubt and uncertainty in your dreams. Most of you are being taught to be realistic about your expectations. But I tell you this, what's realistic to the victorious consciousness far exceeds what's realistic to the consciousness of limitation. You see, this victorious attitude completely revolutionizes how you handle challenges. When you know you've already won, obstacles become opportunities to demonstrate your mastery. Think about how you speak when you know victory is certain. Your words carry authority. Your voice resonates with conviction. Your communication inspires confidence in others. Let me share with you what happens when this victorious consciousness becomes your constant companion. Your very presence becomes a catalyst for positive change in others. Your victory inspires their victory. Most of you sit here tonight thinking about all the reasons why victory might not be possible. But I tell you this, those reasons exist only in a consciousness that has forgotten its true nature. Consider this. Every time you embrace limitation, every time you accept defeat, you're choosing to temporarily forget who you really are. Victory is not something you achieve. It's something you remember. Let me reveal to you something about victory that will forever change how you approach every moment of your life. When you act victorious, you're not pretending. You're acknowledging your innermost truth. You see, most people chase success like hungry wolves chasing prey. But I tell you this, when you embody victory, success chases you. It becomes the natural expression of your being. Consider what happens in your body. When you maintain this victorious consciousness, your immune system strengthens, your energy increases, your entire physical being aligns with this elevated state. Let me tell you about the transformation that occurs in your daily habits when you live from this state. Activities that once felt like obligations become celebrations of your victory. Work becomes play. Challenges become adventures. Most of you have been programmed to believe that confidence must come after achievement. But I tell you this, achievement is merely the outer confirmation of the victory you've already claimed in consciousness. You see, this victorious attitude completely transforms your perception of time. Past failures lose their sting because you realize they were simply stepping stones to your current victory. Think about how you walk when you know you're victorious. Your stride lengthens. Your steps become purposeful. Your entire movement expresses the certainty of success. Let me share with you what happens when this victorious consciousness becomes your moment-to-moment reality. Synchronicities increase. Favorable circumstances multiply. Life itself seems to conspire for your success. Most of you have spent years building defenses against failure. But I tell you this, when you maintain the consciousness of victory, there's nothing to defend against. Victory is your natural state. Consider this. Every anxious thought, every worried moment, every fearful anticipation is simply a temporary forgetting of your victorious nature. Return to victory now. Let me share with you the final and most crucial understanding about victory that will complete your transformation. When you maintain the consciousness of victory, you're not becoming something new. You're returning to your original state. You see, most people spend their life seeking validation from the outer world. But I tell you this, all validation, all confirmation, all proof of your victory must first be established in consciousness. Consider what happens when you move through your entire day from this victorious state. Meetings become opportunities to express your mastery. Challenges become platforms for demonstrating your power. Every moment becomes a celebration of victory. Let me tell you about the final piece of this transformation. When you truly grasp that you've already won, all struggle ceases, all fighting ends, all resistance dissolves. What remains is pure, effortless expression of victory. From this moment forward, I want you to make this sacred commitment to yourself. Promise that you will never again act from a consciousness of defeat. Promise that you will maintain this victorious attitude regardless of appearances. You see, this is the moment where everything changes. This is where you stop seeking victory and start expressing it. This is where you cease struggling to become victorious and simply be victory itself. Think about tomorrow morning when you wake up. Will you rise as the same person who started listening to this message? Or will you rise as victory itself, ready to express your true nature? Let me share with you this final truth. There is no power that can defeat you except your own acceptance of defeat. When you maintain the consciousness of victory, the entire universe must rearrange itself to match your conviction. This is your moment. This is your victory. This is your true nature expressing itself through you. Rise up now, not as someone seeking victory, but as victory itself. Move forward, not as someone hoping to win, but as someone who has already won. Live not as someone becoming victorious, but as victory personified. For in this recognition lies your freedom. In this understanding lies your power. In this knowing lies everything you have ever desired. Go forth now, with the absolute certainty that victory is not your destination. It is your starting point. It is not your goal. It is your nature. It is not your future. It is your eternal now. Let every breath you take be a breath of victory. Let every step you take be a step of triumph. Let every word you speak be a declaration of success. For you are victory itself, expressing itself through your unique form. You have always been victory. You will always be victory. This is your final understanding. This is your ultimate truth. This is your eternal knowing. You are victory itself. And so it is. Rise now and live from this truth. The world is waiting for your victory to express itself. The end is where we begin, for victory was never something to achieve. It was always something to express. Express it now. Express it always. This is your victory. This is your moment. This is your truth. Now and always. Victory is yours.
My friends, tonight I want to speak to you about something that lies beyond the veil of ordinary perception. Something that shapes reality itself. There is a presence, a power moving through the hearts of those who have awakened to it. It is not seen with the eyes, nor grasped with the hands, yet it is the very essence of all that is. When a person is filled with this divine presence, their entire being takes on a new form, and their habits become the footprints of God walking upon the earth. Such a person does not react as the world reacts. They do not respond with fear, anger, or doubt, for they know that the power within them is greater than anything in the world. When others see lack, they see abundance. When others tremble at uncertainty, they stand firm, knowing that all things are working together for good. The world may be in turmoil, but their inner kingdom remains undisturbed, for they know the secret, that the external world is but a shadow cast by the light of their own awareness. They speak with authority, yet their words are not their own. When they declare a thing, it comes to pass, not because they strain or struggle, but because they have learned the sacred art of assuming that which they desire. They do not beg or plead. They know that to desire is to already possess. Their speech is seasoned with grace, and every word carries the creative power of the divine. They do not waste words on idle complaints or trivial concerns, for they understand that their words shape their world, and they will not allow anything but truth and life to flow from their lips. When such a person prays, they do not bow in desperation, nor do they ask as though the answer were separate from them. They enter the secret place, close the door, and see only the reality they wish to bring forth. In that sacred silence, they commune with the infinite, knowing that what they assume as true in that holy moment will solidify in time and space. They have mastered the law not through struggle, but through the effortless acceptance of the truth,
that all things exist within them. They move through life with an ease that others cannot comprehend. Where others toil and strive, they simply rest in the knowing that all is unfolding as it should. They do not chase opportunities, opportunities chase them. They do not grasp for love, love flows to them effortlessly. They do not fear the future, for they know that creation is finished and all they must do is align with the highest version of themselves. Such a person does not seek to control others, nor do they judge by appearances. They see beyond what is and into what can be. They look at the sinner and see the saint, at the broken and see the whole. They hold every man and woman in the highest regard, knowing that what they perceive in another, they call forth in themselves. They walk among the lost, but they themselves are never lost, for they are the light of the world. Above all they love, not as the world loves, with conditions and expectations, but with a love that knows no bounds. They love because they are love, because they understand that to love another is to love the divine within them. They see the face of God in all things, and because they see it, it is revealed. They do not need to be loved in return, for they are already full. Their love is not a need, but a gift, flowing ceaselessly, without demand. This, my friends, is the life of the one who walks with the Holy Spirit. Not by effort, not by striving, but by the simple knowing that they and the Father are one. The one who is filled with the Holy Spirit walks as if the entire universe conspires in their favor, for indeed it does. They are not bound by the limitations of the world, nor do they accept lack, sickness, or despair as permanent realities. They have been given dominion, not over others, but over their own mind, their own perception, and in mastering these, they master life itself. They understand that all power is in consciousness. They do not look outward for salvation, for they know that the kingdom of heaven is within. While the world searches for signs, for proof, for validation, they quietly go within, assuming the reality they desire, and then rest in the certainty that it is done. The world may call it faith, but they know it to be law, an eternal principle that does not fail. They walk with a confidence that is not arrogance, but divine assurance. This confidence is not in their personal strength, but in the knowing that they are one with the source of all things. There is no struggle, no striving to make things happen, only the effortless unfolding of that which they have already accepted in their hearts. To them, miracles are not rare events, but the natural order of life. Healing, abundance, transformation, these are not things they seek, but things they expect, for they understand that to truly believe is to already receive. Where others are tossed by the storms of life, they remain unmoved, for they know that reality is not happening to them, it is happening through them. They do not react to the world, they create the world. If they see discord, they do not engage in battle against it, but rather they turn inward and change the state within. They do not fight against darkness, they simply bring forth light. They do not resist sickness, they assume health. They do not struggle against poverty, they embody abundance. And as they do, the external world reshapes itself to match the inner transformation. This person moves with grace as if guided by an unseen hand, because indeed they are. They do not rush, nor are they anxious about the future, for they know that everything unfolds in divine timing. They trust the process, not because they see every step ahead, but because they know the end from the beginning. Just as the sculptor sees the masterpiece within the stone before a single chip is carved away, they hold the vision of their highest self long before the world reflects it. And because they hold it, it must be so. Their patience is not passive waiting, but a deep knowing that what is theirs cannot be taken, that what is promised cannot be denied. They do not demand signs, for they themselves are the sign. Their very life becomes proof of the unseen reality at work. They need not convince anyone, for the fruits of their faith are evident in the peace they carry, in the joy that radiates from them, in the effortless way blessings seem to flow into their lives. They are never victims, never at the mercy of circumstances. They know that nothing happens to them, only through them. Even in what the world calls misfortune, they find a hidden blessing, for they have trained themselves to see only good. They do not ask, why did this happen to me, but rather, what is this revealing to me? And because they ask from a place of wisdom, the answer always comes. They forgive easily, not out of duty or obligation, but because they understand that to hold on to resentment is to imprison themselves. They do not see enemies, only teachers. They know that every person who crosses their path is a reflection of something within, an opportunity to either heal or expand. They do not waste energy on blame, for they know that whatever they focus upon, they give power to. And so, instead of dwelling in anger, they choose love. Instead of reliving the past, they step into the future. They release, and in releasing, they are free. They give freely, not out of lack or duty, but from an understanding that giving and receiving are one. They do not fear loss, for they know that what they send out returns to them multiplied. They do not hoard their blessings, for they live from a place of infinite supply. They are not concerned with how, when, or through whom their needs will be met, only that they will be met, and so they always are. They do not seek approval from the world, for they are already approved by the divine. They are unaffected by praise or criticism, for their sense of self is rooted in something deeper than human opinion. When the world calls them foolish, they remain steady, for they know that wisdom is not always recognized at first glance. They walk a path that few understand, but they do not require understanding from others. They only require alignment within themselves. They love not as the world loves, with conditions, expectations, and demands, but with a love that is pure, unshakable, and complete. They do not love because another has proven themselves worthy. They love because love is their nature. They do not wait for others to change before they love them. They see them already perfected, already whole, already divine, and because they see it, it becomes so. They never speak of what they do not wish to create. They do not dwell on problems, only solutions. They do not entertain fear, for they know that fear is but the illusion of separation. Their mind is a garden, and they tend it carefully, allowing no weeds of doubt or despair to take root. They meditate upon truth, they speak life, they expect goodness, and because they do, their entire world reflects it. They know that nothing is impossible. They have left behind the small, limited thinking of the world and embraced the vastness of the divine within them. When others say it cannot be done, they smile, for they know it already is. They do not see obstacles, only stepping stones. They do not see barriers, only opportunities to prove that the unseen is more real than the seen. They walk through life with joy, not because they are blind to suffering, but because they see beyond it. They understand that all things are passing, that what is seen is temporary, but what is within is eternal. They do not cling to the transient, nor do they fear loss, for they know that what is real can never be taken from them. They move in a state of gratitude, not for things alone, but for the very breath they breathe, for the awareness they possess, for the love that fills them. When they enter a room, the atmosphere shifts, not because they demand attention, but because their presence carries the weight of something greater. People may not understand why, but they feel drawn to them, comforted by them, inspired by them. They are not trying to be special, they simply are. Their being radiates light, and in their presence others begin to believe in something greater than what their eyes can see. They do not fear death, for they know that life is eternal. They do not mourn as the world mourns, but they celebrate the continuity of the soul. They have moved beyond the illusion of separation, knowing that the same spirit that animates them animates all. They live in the awareness that they are not a body, but consciousness itself, moving, expanding, becoming. This is the life of the one who has become a vessel for the Holy Spirit, not by effort, not by striving, but by surrender, by allowing the divine to fully express itself through them. They are not waiting for heaven, they are bringing heaven to earth. They are not seeking miracles, they are the miracle. And because they have realized this truth, they walk in a world transformed. They move through life as if guided by an unseen hand. Yet they do not ask where they are being led, for they trust that every step is already ordered. They do not look outside themselves for confirmation of their path. They walk it boldly, knowing that the voice within them is the voice of the divine. They are not swayed by appearances, nor do they fear uncertainty, for they know that what seems unknown to the world is already known to the spirit that dwells within them. Where others seek security in material things, they find security in the eternal. They do not place their trust in wealth, status, or possessions, for they understand that these are but shadows of a deeper reality. They do not chase after money, for they know that supply flows to them as effortlessly as breath. They do not hoard, for they live in the knowledge that they are always provided for. Their abundance is not in what they hold, but in what they release. They give freely, and in giving they receive more than they could ever imagine. They are never anxious about tomorrow, for they have already declared it good. They do not wake with worry, nor do they sleep in fear. They go about their days with a quiet assurance that all things are working in perfect harmony. They do not complain of delay, for they know that every delay is but preparation for something greater. They trust in the unfolding, knowing that what is theirs cannot be lost. They do not beg or plead, they simply accept, for they understand that the moment they believe, it is already done. They do not resist what is, for they know that resistance only binds them to the very thing they wish to change. They do not fight against darkness, they bring forth light. They do not wage war against the things they do not wish to experience. Instead, they turn their attention fully to what they desire, and by doing so, they call it forth into existence. They understand that what they focus on expands, and so they give no energy to fear, doubt, or limitation. Instead, they dwell only in possibility, in potential, in the certainty that all things are within their grasp. They see the world differently than others do. Where others see chaos, they see divine order. Where others see lack, they see overflowing abundance. They have trained their minds to perceive only the highest, and in doing so, they reshape reality itself. They are not bound by what others call facts, for they know that facts change, but truth remains. And the truth they hold within them is that they are already one with all that they seek. They do not seek validation, for they already know their worth. They do not need the world to recognize them, for they recognize themselves. Their identity is not in titles or achievements, but in their unshakable connection to the divine. They do not need to prove themselves, for they understand that true power is quiet, effortless, undeniable. They walk into a room and shift the atmosphere, not because they demand attention, but because they radiate something beyond the understanding of the world. Their presence is their testimony. They are not ruled by emotions, but neither do they suppress them. They allow themselves to feel, but they do not become enslaved by feeling. They understand that emotions are but indicators of the state they are dwelling in, and so when they feel discord, they do not panic, they simply return to truth. They do not fear sadness, nor do they cling to happiness. They move through life in a state of deep, abiding peace, for their joy is not based on conditions, but on the unshakable reality that they and the Father are one. They do not argue with those who do not understand, for they know that truth does not need to be defended. They do not seek to convince, for they understand that each soul awakens in its own time. They do not become frustrated when others doubt them, nor are they angered by opposition. They remain steady, knowing that what they know is enough. They do not cast their pearls before those who do not yet see, but they love them just the same, understanding that all are on the path, whether they know it or not. They are patient, not because they must be, but because they understand that everything happens at the perfect time. They do not force, nor do they rush, for they know that all things are already accomplished in the unseen. They do not wish for things to be different, for they trust that all is unfolding exactly as it should. They remain in a state of expectancy, knowing that the moment they align with their highest vision, reality must shift to reflect it. They are not burdened by the past, for they know that nothing that has happened before has any power over them now. They do not carry regret, for they understand that every experience has led them to this moment. They do not dwell in memories of failure or loss, for they know that nothing is ever truly lost. They live fully in the now, unshackled by yesterday, unconcerned with tomorrow. They are free. They do not measure their progress by the world's standards, for they are not walking the world's path. They do not seek approval, nor do they require recognition. They are content in the quiet knowing that they are fulfilling their purpose, even if no one else sees it. They move in silence, creating, manifesting, bringing forth beauty from the unseen. And when the world finally takes notice, they are not surprised, for they knew all along that it was already done. They do not cling to relationships that no longer serve them, for they understand that love is not possession. They release with grace, knowing that those who are meant to walk with them will remain, and those who are not will find their own way. They do not grieve what is gone, for they trust in the endless flow of life. They love without attachment, give without expectation, and in doing so they experience the purest form of love. A love that is free, boundless, eternal. They move with purpose, not because they are chasing a dream, but because they are embodying a reality. They do not need to strive, for they already are all that they wish to be. They carry themselves with an ease that others cannot understand, for they are no longer bound by the illusions of limitation. They do not see problems, only solutions. They do not see barriers, only opportunities for faith to be proven true. They live in gratitude not just for what they have, but for what they know is already theirs. They do not wait to see before they believe. They believe and then they see. Their gratitude is not conditional, for they do not give thanks only when things are going well. They give thanks in all things, knowing that every moment, every experience, every breath is a gift. And because they are grateful, more is always given to them. They do not seek out signs and wonders, for they understand that they themselves are the sign. They do not need miracles to believe, for they know that life itself is the greatest miracle. They do not wait for confirmation, they confirm themselves. They do not look for external proof, they become the proof. They do not need to see the way ahead, for they know that every step is already prepared. They are at peace, not because the world is peaceful, but because they have found peace within. They do not wait for circumstances to be perfect before they feel joy. They bring joy to every circumstance. They are light in darkness, calm in the storm, certainty in the unknown. They do not try to change the world by force, they change it simply by being who they are. This is the life of one who walks with the Holy Spirit. Not a life of striving, but of resting in the knowing that all things are already complete. Not a life of fear, but of faith. Not a life of seeking, but of realizing. They are not waiting for the divine, they are the divine in expression. And because they have embraced this truth, the world itself bends to meet them. They move through life untouched by the illusions that entangle others, for they have seen beyond the veil. They do not live as the world lives, running after fleeting desires, chasing shadows, or fearing loss. Instead, they abide in a place of quiet assurance, knowing that everything they seek is already within them. The tides of circumstance do not shake them, nor do they allow the shifting opinions of men to determine their worth. They have made their dwelling in the presence of the divine, and nothing outside of them holds power over their peace. They do not wake up wondering what the day will bring. They rise, knowing they are the authors of the day. They do not leave things to chance, for they understand that there is no such thing as chance, only consciousness in motion. They determine in the morning what will unfold in the evening, and by the time the world sees it, they have already lived it in the unseen. Their faith is not hope, it is certainty. They do not ask if something will happen, they know it already has, and because they know, the world must conform. They do not hold grudges, nor do they waste energy on past offenses. They understand that to hold resentment is to poison their own spirit, and so they release freely, expecting nothing in return. They forgive not as an obligation, but as a natural outflow of their understanding. They see every person as themselves pushed out, every event as a reflection of their own state, and in this knowing they take responsibility, not for what others do, but for what they create within. They do not blame, for they recognize that all things come through them, not to them. They are never in competition, for they know that there is no scarcity in the divine. They do not compare themselves to others, nor do they envy another's success, for they understand that there is no limit to what can be received. They rejoice in the abundance of others, knowing that it is but a reflection of the abundance that flows to all. They do not grasp or cling, for they have transcended the illusion of lack. They give without fear, love without restraint, and walk in a state of wholeness that cannot be shaken. They are not afraid to stand alone, for they know that they are never truly alone. They do not seek the crowd, nor do they fear solitude. They have found a wellspring within, a source that is ever flowing, and in this they are complete. They are not desperate for companionship, for they attract effortlessly those who are aligned with their spirit. They do not chase after love, for love is who they are, and those who are meant to walk with them will find them naturally, drawn by a force beyond words. They do not fear failure, for they do not believe in failure. To them there is only learning, only growth, only movement toward higher understanding. They do not dwell in self-pity, nor do they see setbacks as punishment. They know that every seeming obstacle is but a stepping stone, every detour a divine redirection. They trust the process, not resisting, not complaining, but flowing with the current of life, knowing that even in what appears to be lost, there is a hidden gift. They do not waste time explaining themselves to those who cannot see. They know that the blind cannot be forced to perceive the light. They must awaken to it in their own time. And so, they do not argue. They do not debate. They do not seek to convince. They live their truth so fully, so completely, that their very presence becomes the evidence of what is possible. They do not seek validation, for they are already validated by the divine within them. They walk in silence when necessary, understanding that wisdom is often found in stillness. They do not need to announce their every move, nor do they seek recognition for their works. They plant seeds with patience, knowing that what is sown in secret will bear fruit in due time. They are not hurried, not anxious, not restless, for they have mastered the art of divine timing. They move only when inspired, speak only when necessary, and trust that what is meant for them will arrive without struggle. They do not let the opinions of others dictate their direction. They do not bow to the expectations of the world, nor do they compromise their truth for acceptance. They are unmoved by praise and unshaken by criticism, for they understand that both are fleeting, both are illusions. They do not live for approval, nor do they seek permission. They follow the inner voice, knowing that this voice is the only true guide. And when the world calls them foolish, they smile, for they know what the world does not yet understand. They do not live for the material, though they lack nothing. They understand that wealth is not measured by what one possesses, but by what one realizes within. They do not chase money, for they know that abundance is a state of being. They do not worry about provision, for they know that all things flow from the unseen, and because they live in this knowing, they attract effortlessly. What others strive for comes to them naturally, not through force, but through alignment. They are kind, but they are not weak. They love, but they do not allow themselves to be used. They serve, but they do not become slaves to the demands of others. They set boundaries with wisdom, understanding that to preserve their own energy is to honor the divine within them. They give from overflow, not depletion. They help where they are led, but they do not sacrifice their peace. They move in balance, knowing that true service comes from a place of strength, not exhaustion. They do not fear opposition, for they understand that light will always be met with resistance. They do not shrink back when challenged, nor do they allow doubt to enter when faced with difficulty. They remain steady, knowing that what is real cannot be threatened. They do not engage in battles that do not serve their purpose, nor do they waste energy on those who seek to provoke. They remain above, observing but not entangled, choosing always the higher path. They do not attach themselves to labels, for they know that identity is beyond words. They are not bound by past mistakes, nor do they cling to old definitions of self. They evolve, they expand, they become. They do not hold on to an image of who they were, for they are constantly renewing, constantly stepping into greater expressions of the divine. They embrace change, knowing that transformation is the nature of life. They do not live with a sense of entitlement, but with a sense of deep appreciation. They are grateful for every moment, every breath, every experience. They do not take for granted the gifts they have been given, nor do they demand more without first honoring what they already have. They see beauty in the small things, joy in the ordinary, and miracles in what others overlook. Their life is one of constant thanksgiving, and in this state of gratitude, they attract more to be grateful for. They do not look to the world for peace, for they have found peace within. They do not wait for circumstances to align before they feel joy, for they have learned that joy is a choice, not a condition. They are not bound by the limitations of logic, nor do they allow fear to dictate their steps. They walk by faith, not by sight, knowing that what they believe will become their reality. And so they believe only in the good, only in the possible, only in the highest vision of what can be. They are not waiting for salvation, for they know they are already saved. They do not seek an external God, for they have realized that the divine is within them. They do not bow to fear, for they have discovered that love is the only truth. They do not live in separation, for they have seen through the illusion. They are one with the infinite, one with the eternal, one with all that is. And because they know this, they walk in a world transformed, untouched by doubt, unmoved by fear, radiant in the fullness of divine presence. And so, my friends, the one who walks with the Holy Spirit is not waiting for the world to change, for they have already changed within. They are not seeking the divine outside of themselves, for they have become the vessel through which the divine expresses. They do not live in hesitation, in doubt, in fear, for they know who they are. They walk in power, in peace, in unwavering certainty, for they have aligned themselves with the eternal truth that creation is finished, and all they must do is step into the reality they have already claimed. They are not separate from the source of life, they are one with it. They do not need permission to become, for they already are. They do not wait for signs, for they are the sign. They do not seek miracles, for they are the living manifestation of the miraculous. They do not waver, for they know that all things must bend to the will of the one who fully believes. They have embraced the truth that heaven is not a distant place, but a state of being. And because they live in this state, they bring heaven wherever they go. They do not wait for the world to recognize them, for the world must eventually conform to the image they hold within. They do not fear what is to come, for they have already declared it good. They walk in faith, in love, in divine authority, knowing that nothing is impossible, for the Spirit within them is the very same power that spoke the universe into existence. This, my friends, is the life of the one who truly walks in the Spirit, not a life of struggle, but of rest, not a life of waiting, but of knowing, not a life of seeking, but of being. And because they have stepped into this reality, the world itself must bow before them, for they have awakened to the greatest truth of all, that they and the Father are one.